Earth will become a chaotic world with dire consequences. This is what physicists predict. If the Earth system gets into the region of a chaotic behavior, we will lose all hope of somehow fixing the problem. Humans are not just making Earth warmer, they're making the climate chaotic. A new study suggests, and it's a very stark finding, the new research, which was posted April 21st to the preprint database ARXIV, draws a broad general picture of the full potential impact of human activity on the climate, and the picture is not good. While the study does not present a complete simulation of the climate model, it does paint a broad sketch of where we're heading if we don't curtail climate change and our unchecked use of fossil fuels, according to the study authors, scientists in the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Porto in Portugal. They said the implications of climate change are well known: droughts, heat waves, extreme phenomena, etc. Study researcher Orfo Bertolami said, saying that the Earth system gets into a region of chaotic behavior, we will lose all hope of somehow fixing the problem. There will be climate shifts. Earth periodically experiences mass changes in climate patterns, going from one stable equilibrium to the other. These shifts are usually driven by external factors like changes in Earth's orbit or a massive surge in volcanic activity. But past research suggests that we're now entering a new phase. It's one driven by human activity. As humans pump up more carbon into the atmosphere, we're creating a new Anthropocene era. It's a period of human-influenced climate systems and something our planet has never experienced before. In the new study, researchers modeled the introduction of the Anthropocene as a phase transition. Most people are familiar with phase transitions in materials. For instance, when an ice cube changes phase from a solid to a liquid by melting into water, or when water evaporates into gas. But phase transitions also occur in other systems. In this case, the system is Earth's climate. A given climate provides for regular and predictable seasons and weather, and a phase transition in the climate leads to new patterns of seasons and weather. When the climate goes through a phase transition, this means that Earth is experiencing a sudden and rapid change in patterns. There will be logistic problems. If human activity is driving a phase transition in Earth's climate, that means we are causing the planet to develop a new set of weather patterns. What those patterns will look like is one of the most pressing problems of climate science. Where is Earth's climate heading? That depends significantly on exactly what our activity is over the next few decades. Drastically reducing carbon output, for example, would lead to different outcomes than changing nothing at all, the researchers wrote in their study. To account for the different trajectories and choices that humanity could make, the researchers employed a mathematical tool called a logistic map. The logistic map is great at describing situations where some variable, such as the amount of carbon in the atmosphere, can grow but naturally reaches a limit. For example, scientists often use the logistic map to describe animal populations. Animals can keep giving birth, increasing their number, but they reach a limit when they consume all the food in their environment, or their predators get too hungry and consume them. Our influence on the environment is definitely growing, and it has been for over a century, but it will naturally reach a limit, according to the researchers. For example, the human population can only grow so large and can only have so many carbon-emitting activities, and the pollution will eventually degrade the environment. At some point in the future, carbon output will reach a maximum limit, and the researchers found that a logistic map can capture the future trajectory of that carbon output very well. Everything is chaos. The researchers explored different ways that the human logistic map could evolve, depending on a variety of factors like our population, introduction of carbon reduction strategies, and better, more efficient technologies. Once they found how human carbon output would evolve with time, they used that to examine how Earth's climate would evolve through the human-driven phase transition. In the best cases, once humanity reaches the limit of carbon outputs, Earth's climate stabilizes at a new higher average temperature. This higher temperature is overall bad for humans because it still leads to higher sea levels and more extreme weather events, but at least it's stable. The Anthropocene looks like previous climate changes, only warmer, and it will still have regular and repeatable weather patterns. But in the worst cases, the researchers found that Earth's climate leads to chaos. True mathematical chaos. In a chaotic system, there is no equilibrium and no repeatable patterns. A chaotic climate would have seasons that change wildly from decade to decade or even year to year. Some years would experience sudden flashes of extreme weather, while others would be completely quiet. Even the average Earth temperature may fluctuate widely, swinging from cooler to hotter periods in relatively short periods of time. It would become utterly impossible to determine in what direction Earth's climate is heading. A chaotic behavior means that it will be impossible to predict the behavior of Earth's system in the future, even if we know with great certainty its present state, Bertolomé said. It will mean that any capability to control and to drive the Earth system towards an equilibrium state that favors the habitability of the biosphere will be lost. Most concerning, the researchers found that above a certain critical threshold, temperature for Earth's atmosphere, a feedback cycle, can kick in where a chaotic result would become unavoidable. There are some signs that we may have already passed that tipping point, but it's not too late to avert climate disaster. This is by Paul Sutter on Life Science. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.